says, give me that. Flush it down the effing bowl. He said, throw it out.
Throw it out.
I said, but they made it.
They made it, yeah.
F Wild Bill, throw it out. All right. Go by the bowl. Dump the thing. If Italy, we don't say, I don't like it. We say, mi fa, which means it makes me.
Yeah.
So he says, throw it out. So I go like this. I said, all right, well, now we're going to eat. He said, whatever you want. It's okay. I want Billy Hong's.
Who? Benihana?
No, not Benihana. It was called Bill Hong's.
Bill Hong's, okay.
Bill Hong's was on 3rd Avenue and 57th Street in Manhattan.
It's uptown.
The place was famous for its lobster rolls.
Really?
They would make these big size egg rolls, they look like, right?
Okay.
With all lobster meat inside.
Sounds delicious.
This place was so famous for the lobster rolls that Frank Sinatra, at the time when there was no internet or nothing, he would send his pilot or whatever, his assistant, fly from California, take his jet from California, fly into New York City. What he would bring back is, let's say, 20 or 40 lobster rolls and then pizza from Patsy's up in the original one up in Harlem. And how I know this is because the owner, Billy Hong's, became good friends with my grandfather, Nunzi, who was my mother's biological dad. Not her stepdad. Her stepdad was Fatty Russo.
Right.
But her biological dad was Nunzi. Anyways, I'm in there. I used to go to Billy Hong's once a week, either with my grandfather or somebody, And the guy that ran the place was Ming, his name was.
Okay.
Ming.
I like it.
Chinese guy. But man, it was, if they made like steak Q, it would be with filet mignon.
Wow.
If they made like almond chicken, all white meat. If they made anything, right, it was all high quality protein.
Yeah.
Just the difference in the food there was second to none.
Did you get it?
So I told him, I said, I want Billy Hong's.
Yeah.
All right, he said, close the door. I closed the door, I put the board up, because you make a board, you cut out a board out of like a cake box. We used to get the little Debbie cake boxes, and they fit perfect in covering the cell door. Right? Yeah. He pulls out a Motorola flip phone, like a track phone.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Calls up Billy Hong's, puts an order in. He goes, what do you want? I said, I want lobster rolls, steak Q, sweet and sour chicken, cellophane noodles. He said, yeah, throw some shrimp fried rice in there. I want this, I want that. He orders a whole bunch of stuff. And he hangs up the phone, calls another guy, who I didn't know at the time was a cop, a guard that worked inside the MCC.
Okay.
He says, hey, go do that pickup. I just ordered from Billy Hong's. He said, I'll be ready at 8 o'clock. Guy goes, gotcha.
It's awesome.
Now, in federal prison, they have stand-up counts. 4 o'clock count's the most important because that goes straight to Washington.
Wow.
They count how many inmates are there. Then you got the 9 o'clock count, and then 11 o'clock count, but you're already locked in, your cell. And the other counts that go on through the night, you're sleeping. And in the morning, wherever you are, they count you. But they're counting in there 5-6 times a day. So 9 o'clock count comes around. Everybody goes to their cell. Who comes in? They open our door. Cop walks in with 2 bags, full bags from Billy Hong's, and goes, delivery, drops them right in the middle of our cell.
That's wild, bro.
So I'm looking at him, starving, right?
Sure.
He goes, come on, let's eat. I ate like a gavone. Just forget it. Right?
That's incredible.
I go, where we ordering from tomorrow? So we had enough food there for about 2 or 3 days. We kept it on ice.
I bet.
We kept it fresh and everything. Then he calls up. He says, hey, we get some cigars. He said, you want to get some cigars? You want to get some whatever? I don't drink.
Right.
I never did drink on the street. I mean, I would drink a little bit here and there, but I never got drunk where I never knew what I was doing. I always wanted to be aware of everything,
Right.
So she says, yeah. So another bag comes in. Cuban cigars, liquor, scotch. You had cigarettes there because there was currency.
Right.
Magazines, all stuff from the street. Like a goodie bag showed up every night. So anyway, after that food ran out, goes, what do you want? Well, Peter Luger's. You heard of Peter
Wow.
Luger's, right?
Yeah, of course.
Steakhouse.
Been there a few times, yeah.
Calls up, orders Peter Luger's, cream spinach, T-bones, the fries, the onion rings, the homestyle potatoes, the whole thing.
I remember them.
The point I'm trying to make is he was so paranoid of anybody putting anything in his food.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't take a drink from anybody. He wouldn't eat off anybody's plate. Nothing. Nobody. He was very paranoid like that. I benefited from it because he was getting all the food in there.
Yeah.
And they were smoking cigars. We had another guy with us on the floor from our crew, Anthony Barada. The way it's spelt, Bowatt. A lot of people get it wrong. How would you pronounce it?
Bowatt. Bowatt. Right? How else would you pronounce it?
These guys were screwed up. We call him Anthony Bowatt.
Bowatt. Yeah.
You know? I hear people on the internet go, Bowada, Bowatt. I go, they don't know.
They don't
know. So Anthony Bowatt was downstairs because it had 2 levels of the tier. So we were on the upper tier, and if you went down a few steps, they had a lower tier. Well, Anthony Bowatt was an avid cigar smoker. He could tell you everything about the cigar. You could give him a blind test. You could put that guy with a blind test.
And he'd know the cigar.
You could blind him up and give him the cigar. I'll tell you which one is the Cuban, which one's the better one.
Huh.
I mean, the guy lived, he knew the finer things in life. Originally a Harlem guy.
Okay.
Big junk guy. Made a ton of money. One of the richest guys ever in the mob. One of the nicest guys you can meet. And a tough guy. So you talk about when you get both, you get a guy that's a tough guy and is a moneymaker.
Yeah.
Anthony Bowatt's another one of them.
Okay.
I shared a cell with him up in Otisville. I'll get into that later on. But the way he lived and the way he likes to live and stuff. But Anthony Bowatt, that guy was a pleasure. It was a pleasure and an honor to be around him.
That's cool.
You know? So back to Gas.
Yeah.
Now on the floor. So he used to get the cigars in for Bowatt, you know. And, you know, we used to smoke and hang out and, you know, maybe take a sip of a drink here and there and just reminisce and talk about the street, talk about the life. Then we used to go to church. So in church, you were allowed to meet up with all the other guys because everybody came from the floors. So Big Frankie Lastarino was on the 11th floor.
Okay.
Richie Pagalulo was on another floor. They used to call him the Toop. So that's where we would all meet.
At church?
Yeah, so me, Gas, and Bowatt used to walk up, and then Big Frankie used to come down with Richie Toop and, you know, everybody else. We would all congregate there. The priest couldn't even give the mass because that's how noisy it was.
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted to get Gas's ear, you know?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So finally the priest would look at him, and anytime like he's trying to tell everybody to hush, he would just stare at Anthony.
And get Anthony to tell everybody to shut up. Yeah.
Looking at Anthony going, would you tell everybody just to, you know, I want to get through
You're
this.
in charge, aren't you?
Right. They could tell him
that makes sense. Yeah.
So we go downstairs, and the more messages that were coming back from the street, because there was a new administration at that time.
Okay. Yeah. Things were changing.
And the guys they put there were, I mean, it was almost an insult to guys like Bowatt, Gas, Big Frankie, you know? Like when I was on the street, that's who was out there.
Right.
These guys
Those
were
are the guys you talked with.
Now they go put Joe DeFede, little Joe DeFede, who was Vic's handball partner.
Okay.
That's how you know him. Guy was never street guy, never nothing.
Not a true mobster.
No. So it was like an insult. They had nobody. You talk about attrition, they had nobody left.
Wow.
They put him on a panel, Stevie Crea, which I got to give Crea his props. Stevie Crea is a Bronx guy.
Okay.
Never had a really good relationship with him. Never had a bad relationship with him. I really didn't get to know the guy. They had us try to kill him.
Really?
Yeah, we're plotting to kill him for whatever stupid reason. I'll get into that later.
Yeah.
The guy today, I got to give him his props. You know, it's a sin. He's dying in jail right now.
Wow.
He's got life. He's never getting out. Got nothing bad to say about the guy.
Man, that's tough.
You know, but I can tell you, he wasn't a Gaspipe. He wasn't a Big Frankie. He wasn't Anthony Bowatt. Stevie Crea held his own for the Bronx. In the Bronx, we were the weakest. that made any sense. The Bronx guys were not a good representative of the Lucchese's in the Bronx.
Of what the Lucchese family really was.
Right. So the Genovese out there, strong.
Mm-hmm.
Bananos, strong. Gambino, strong. Colombo, I don't know if they had a few guys out there, maybe. But everybody that had a crew out there, right? Our crew was not a good representative of what the Lucchese family really was.
In the Bronx.
In the Bronx. Not what Brooklyn was.
Yeah, different story
compared to Brooklyn.
in the other boroughs.
Right. Queens, whatever.
Well, that's a great story about gas. I mean, Anthony was, I would have never guessed he's that, OCD or, but if you think about it, the guy, another smart guy. I mean, so he was afraid of germs. I don't blame him.
Wow. We're on the floor.
Yeah.
He's getting so pissed off because Vic Amuso, he was the boss. He broke gas. Breaking meaning not on the boss no more.
Oh, wow.
Pretty much tried to turn the whole family against him. The same thing to Big Frankie. Same thing to Boat. All the guys that were out there with gas. And then he put this other guy, Danny Cataya.
Okay.
The Catayas, and again, I just shake my head. Cataya was a nice guy, but never, especially his son. His son was a joke. I don't want, let me take this back. I don't want this to be a hate channel. Yeah. Like I'm going to start bashing guys.
You're calling them for who they are. I mean, you're not mocking them in any way. You're just saying it the way it was. You're used to true mobsters like Gaspipe and Bones and all these other guys. And here these other guys come along and you're looking at them like, you can't shine these guys' shoes. So you're not, I don't think you're being terrible at it. I think you're just telling me how you feel.
We're comparing gangsters, right?
Yeah.
So they had put a panel in place. It was this Joe DeFede.
Okay.
They call him Little Joe DeFede. Stevie Wonder, we used to call him, Stevie Crea from the Bronx.
Okay.
And you had Danny Cataya from the Canarsie crew. Now, let me tell you about the three guys compared to Gaspipe, Big Frankie, Lester Reno, and Anthony Boat. Right? Night and day. So Joe DeFede was just like a handball partner because Vic loved to play handball. And that's how he got familiar with Vic. But never had a reputation, never had any kind of street creds at all. Just got put there because of attrition and because I guess they had no other body. Nobody will listen to him, I guess.
He didn't earn that position, basically, is what you're saying. And by doing anything to get that position, most guys earned it when they came up like Gas.
See, when Gas was on the street, there was a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But the guys that he had on the street were Big Frankie and Boat. So anybody that was Gaspipe, Vic, they were in jail anyway.
Yeah.
But he made sure he replaced them. And Stevie Crea, I got to say, out of the three, I would say he had the most creds. Guy was a big money maker for the family with construction.
Okay.
But he was also a capable guy. Like the guy wasn't a punk.
Right.
I mean, he wasn't a standout guy like a Gaspipe or like these other guys I'm talking about. But for the Bronx, there was nothing wrong with him. I mean, it was a good representation of the Lucchese's. And to be honest with you, our Bronx faction of the Lucchese's, right, was not a good representative of what the family really was about. You take all the other families, you take the Genovese, you take the Gambino, the Bananos, everybody was way stronger than us representing as far as what guys were up there
in the Bronx,
than the Bronx guys. Bronx guys were not like the Brooklyn guys. No comparison.